Okay, here we go. Pixar's Amazing Cars. God, even the title alone is like 3 words long. I gotta admit, I do actually like the original Cars movie. You know, I'll say it. It's a good movie. Is it a top 10 Pixar movie? Absolutely not. Does this universe make sense when you really think about it? Absolutely not. However, like many of us out there, I can't deny that this movie was an absolute banger as a kid, and it's clearly had its longevity because of some sort of quality somewhere. And so recently, I did a rewatch for this video, and I gotta admit, it's not terrible. It's a genuinely solid film. And though it may not be perfect, I think there's still so much to appreciate, and considering this is Pixar at some of their prime time, and looking at all the rival movies that are out there, it would be valid to say this is an amazing movie, even if it's not quite my exact personal taste. The thing with this initial stretch of Pixar movies is that they had a general policy of making movies that may be suitable for kids, but are otherwise made for everyone. And that is why Pixar movies are universal entertainment. Everyone can enjoy them. And I think Cars has that kind of approach in the whole theme of winning isn't everything and appreciating the small things. However, I can also see why the Talking Cars movie translates as a lot more young-leaning than maybe the rest on its surface. They've basically just done a high-budget version of a preschool cartoon premise. However, on revisiting that original 2006 movie, yes, it'll be 20 years old fairly soon, how does it actually fare? Well, starting with the opening scene, we couldn't really get off to much of a stronger start. Ignore the fact that somehow a truck knocks on the door. This scene is absolutely phenomenally executed. The initial inner monologue cutting between pitch black and the smash cuts of the race sets the tone perfectly. It's a shame there was absolutely no way of going into this movie without knowing that this is a world of anthropomorphic cars, as otherwise that initial reveal of him coming out the truck would have been a right laugh. Even knowing the full context, I still like that touch. Once he's out the truck, Pixar absolutely dive in with yes, they're all cars, with crowd shots that look like they took absolute months to pull off. I mean, the detail in this opening scene just looks so expensive. As for the race itself, you can't beat such well-executed action combined with that Sheryl Crow song. Real gone. The adrenaline my 10-year-old self got from this scene was off the scales. This was a real showcase of how far Pixar had come in animation. Even the reflective surfaces on the cars are something to appreciate. The lights, the smoke on the track, they pulled all of this off a solid 13 years before the photorealistic cat in Toy Story 4. The sound choices in this scene are so visceral as well. The roaring engine of a car is often characterized as something that's alive, so you've got to deliver on that when living cars are literally the premise of your movie. I gotta say it. Even just Lightning's engine alone gives him a physicality and weight just through the use of sound. And it's the kind of filmmaking I've not really paid attention to in the Cars movies before this point. Whilst this is also a thinly disguised exposition dump, I do think the commentaries setting up the 3 main races also worked in pretty seamlessly. This all just comes across as an organic part of the world building which sets up the core rivalry whilst not feeling forced. The fact that they're voiced by actual racing commentators also just adds that extra layer of authenticity. I wish I knew sports and could be more uproarious about each casting choice. But if you want to get your audience to buy into the commentary of a fictional race, yeah, get a couple of guys who have professionally done it a million times over. This commentary also doesn't give us everything. The fact that Lightning is set up as the rookie gives that initial investment of wanting to root for him before we find out that he may not actually be the nicest guy in the world. Come on now. I like that they generally keep that personality trait behind the curtain for the opening race. With both the silly slow motion shot of him winking and refusing to replace his tires, all we really get is that he's a bit of a show-off and has a sometimes ill-judged sense of determination. However, someone we do find out a piece of work from the get-go is Chick. In a movie where the protagonist is also full of himself, you need the villain of the piece to double down on that. It's interesting because you can't really call him the story's main antagonist either. He really has nothing to do with the story other than the beginning and end of it. However, as the unlikable rival to Lightning, he fits the bill perfectly. Also, I didn't realize until recently he was voiced by Michael Keaton, a guy who's done a surprising amount with living cars for Disney, being in Herbie Fully Loaded the previous year. Remember that movie? Now that's nostalgic.
You need tires, you idiot!
Of course, the tire skipping incident comes back to haunt McQueen right as he nears the finish line. This movie is only minutes in at this point, yet it still manages to create genuine tension, albeit with a bit of a silly crescendo with him jumping along. To be fair, that's one argument in favor of something you couldn't have done in a human world setting. Throughout this whole opening race, they do the legwork to get you invested in the action, which is hard to do in a fictionalized game of sport. I've said before about how I kind of have a hard time getting invested in fiction sports scenes, as the whole appeal of sport is the spontaneity of the outcome, you know? The realness. In animation, even more so, you know? However, here, I can fully buy into it. With both the main races in this movie, the results are genuinely different to where most audiences probably thought they were going on the first watch. I know how I said the final sprint is otherwise a little bit silly, but I do find the referees reviewing the footage with the tongue to be pretty funny. Meanwhile, following the race, we get the first full taste of Lightning being a bit of an a-hole.
How will I ever find anyone else who knows how to fill me up with gas?
Which is quite a bold move for the lead of your movie. I mean, this is the studio who had to rework the original Toy Story because Woody was too unlikable. To have such a brashly arrogant character as the protagonist can be a huge turn-off, but I think they handle it well in this case. This is why I bring up the opening race so much, where they don't drop these characteristics on you immediately. You're almost tricked to partially buy into the character before his toxic traits are introduced. And sorry if that just sounds like your relationship history. And sticking to the topic of morally questionable guys, this adult joke turns up.
We're like your biggest fans! Ka-chow!
Yep, it's a flashing joke. As we say, it's made for everybody. Lest we forget who directed this. We also have Lightning's pit stop crew walk out on him, also showing he's not the biggest team player in the world either. And at this point, I'd definitely like to shout out Owen Wilson's voice performance for somehow not making him completely unlikable at this point. You definitely need someone to bring an air of charm when the main character's otherwise just an arrogant show-off who has to go on a journey to learn to be a nice person, you know? Kinda reminds me of Bill Murray's character in Groundhog Day, but you know, with cars. We also then get a full introduction to the King. Cue daydream sequence that seemed to spawn off a whole range of toys all by itself. Yes, Lightning doesn't really listen and just thinks about the gas station from Toy Story sponsoring him. Which does raise the question of whether dinosaurs are a thing in this universe. I mean, I guess they're kind of eating liquid dinosaur. And dinosaurs do exist in the wider Pixar world, technically. What we do know is that Lightning thinks he's a one-man show and doesn't need anyone's input to get where he wants to be. Wow, this guy sure has a lot to learn. I wonder if there's a whole movie about that. Not to worry, this guy gets his first slice of humble pie when he prematurely pops out on stage, presuming he's won. But by the touch of a tongue, it's a three-way tie. So they've got a rematch elsewhere. Seems simple enough. What could possibly go wrong? Before Lightning can head off, Mac's on hand to make sure he fills his sponsorship agreement.
You gotta make your personal appearance.
That being an ointment for rusty cars, which, judging by the clientele, doesn't seem to work so well. It's a nice additional note to establish Lightning's detachment from everyone, whilst also setting up a rusty car prejudice that'll pay off when...
Morning, Sleeping Beauty!
Oh, dear God, help us all. Before we get there, though, we first have one of the all-time great road trip needle drops. Yes, I'm talking about Life is a Highway.
Life is a highway.
Honestly, this soundtrack has some absolute winners. And I think it's interesting because obviously this is in its own regard a pop culture song choice, but it is also a cover made expressly for this movie and also is pretty on point for what's actually going on rather than just shoving in a song randomly because here's the high montage moment or something. Plus, I mean, with the whole premise of the movie, yeah, all of life
Is a highway.
in this world. Not to mention, it's yet more of Pixar showcasing we could literally just animate the real world now. I mean, the landscapes in this sequence are just insane, and they're certainly not the last we'll see. They pop up for just a matter of seconds, yet you can still tell that they went all in on them. That's just Pixar, man. Anyway, this sequence ends with Lightning's call with his agent, who, in the UK at least, is indeed voiced by Jeremy Clarkson.
And it is such an honor to be your agent.
Mr. British Cars man himself, turned farmer, turned tax avoider. I think it's a really interesting example of how Cars puts in so many celebrity voice casts, but more as cameos in a way to not, you know, completely Chris Prattify a movie. And this is back in 2006. It's a really interesting display of casting choices, which admittedly, I never even ever noticed, but hey, that's just me. It's still very, very cool that they did this. It's easy to overlook this bit, but it's also the only insight we get into Lightning's loneliness until much later on. As Harv tells him to invite his friends, it becomes quite apparent from what he doesn't say that he doesn't have any.
Mr. Popper, there's so many friends when you can't even narrow it down.
Considering how unlikable he is in the previous scene, this one crack in the armor adds a whole other layer to the character. We need at least a hint of him unfulfilled so that certain decisions he makes later on don't just come out of nowhere. The clues are all planted here, and I like that this isn't even overemphasized. It doesn't need to be. I don't need a Hamlet self-pitying monologue from Lightning McQueen, as entertaining as that would probably sound. On to Matt getting sleepy and Lightning proceeding to overwork his one remaining employee. Always stop when you're getting tired on the road, people. Not only could you die in a horrific crash, but your passenger could fall into the road in their sleep before narrowly missing a train and then panic destroying the road of a small nearby town, which they'll then have to repair through a community service sentence. Hate it when that happens, but that's how it unfolds here. But first, we have the neon cars taunting Sleepy Mac. These characters remind me of the sort of people I get anxiety walking past in the street. What do you know, I'm triggered by glow-in-the-dark cars. Through shenanigans, Lightning ends up in the road and the chaos ensues. This scene pulling off that sense of panic very well as well. As Lightning looks on at the hordes of identical trucks, it takes you right back to losing your parents in a busy setting. Of course, instead of staying on the main road, Lightning instead takes a turn towards the rest of the movie. They spent a lot of time animating this town, you can't just skip it.
He's shooting at me! Why is he shooting at me?
Gotta love America. From the loud action, we cut to some contrasting establishing shots that perfectly set up the sleepy town of Radiator Springs. Again, the sound editing choices in this are absolutely stellar. And in 2 short gags, we quickly get a picture of what life's been like in this town. Between Guido repeatedly correcting the tire every time the wind blows it and Sergeant Fillmore looking at the broken traffic light.
Every third blink is slower.
The 60s weren't good to you, were they?
Gotta love this movie's vision of peace. And the best gags are the ones that tell the story at the same time, and everything we need to know about the personality of this town is on show here. The incoming destruction wouldn't have its intended worlds collide effect if we weren't first quickly caught up to speed with the peace or perhaps dullness that was being disrupted. After all, the whole town noticed and is in the courtroom the next day. They also don't go half measures on the destruction. I love how unnecessarily elaborate it is. I can only imagine the storyboard stage going like, so the barbed wire fence now wraps around him and then gets stuck on a statue and then pulls out of its plinth and then drags it along the road before launching it off a trailer and then it fires into a telephone wire. Sounds plausible enough. We love organized scripted chaos. And then we quickly cut to the empty trailer for a dash of toilet humor.
What? Did I forget to wipe my mud flaps?
Before being introduced to the MVP of the Cars universe.
Morning, Sleeping Beauty!
Now, for those expecting me to go all in on a Mater takedown, just a thesis character assassination, I'm not quite going to today. I'm not a huge fan of the character, but in this movie at least, he serves his comedy sidekick role solidly enough. He has some solid comedy beats peppered in there, but on the flip side, there is also
You're in love with Miss Sally.
where the character's a tad piercing, which Cars 2 saw as an invitation to double down on.
Do not eat the free pistachio ice cream.
Dark times indeed. And coming out of that second movie, he kind of became Pixar's Jar Jar Binks in many ways. There's a reason his role somewhat reduced in the third one, though the damage was already done by that point. And I appreciate it's hard to go back to the first one without the stench of how overexposed the character was after this point. But honestly, here he's fine. Not an all-time classic character by any stretch, but harmless. As for the rest of the town, as we get into the court scene, I really like the ensemble we have here. In researching for this movie, the animators were actually sent on a Route 66 road trip where they went to a small town that inspired Radiator Springs. Whether it was an Italian barber, an old trinket shop, a tattoo parlor, or a 50s style diner, it was all there, and you can see that reflected in the characters. The bulk of this movie relies on the audience buying into this small community, and the reason it works is a sense of truth behind it. Who knows, maybe even Mater was based on someone, other than the very iconic voice of the voice actor Larry the Cable Guy.
Shoot, I'll do it, Sheriff!
We get the introduction of Doc Hudson, which I believe was the final major film role for legendary actor Paul Newman, and though he probably wasn't looking for the Talking Cars movie to be his final performance, it's definitely a strong role to go out on. I mean, he's great in this, and it's very fitting for a bona fide classic Hollywood star to voice a character that, as we learn, is meant to have a similar kind of status. In fact, fun bit of trivia here, Doc Hudson's big 1954 crash is the same year as Paul Newman's first credited on-screen and roll. He's perhaps the most important character in telling this movie's story, so it's good that they went all in on the casting here. Even the character design sits with the vocal performance so well, which can't be easy when every character has to be, you know, a car. Anyway, he's both the judge and the local doctor, again painting a good picture of how small and isolated this town is, and on noticing Lightning's race car characteristics, immediately wants him gone. We love an unbiased judge.
Holy Portia.
But then we're introduced to Sally, and yes, we have the uncomfortable, objectifying Sally bit now.
All you have to do now is stand there and let me look at you.
Another quick reminder of who the co-director is, though ultimately he gets his just desserts as then she convinces Doc to put Lightning on community service to repave the road.
Nice ruling.
Because that's what you get from harassment, folks. Though, like every movie, they do end up together in the end. I'm glad we eventually learned that not every female lead has to hook up with the male one by the end. But first, Lightning gets hooked up with Bessie. It's kind of interesting which vehicles are anthropomorphized and which aren't. For her sake, oh, Bessie's not alive anyway. With the Lightning escape attempt, the incredibly put together vast landscapes do make me think that executed another way, this would have been a solid horror movie premise. Imagine if it was humans and this guy got abducted by an isolated town, dragging this road paving machine by hand, and the locals know exactly when you'll run out of steam on an escape attempt. Horrifying. Back to the road paving, and I, to this day, have no idea what Mater's saying.
You should have heard me on Giddy Up, Ooh, Papa Mile Mile.
If you just told me Larry the Cable Guy was just left to talk in the sound booth for this, I'd believe you. Also, why would he has his name listed like that in his credits? Like he's Lady Gaga or something. Fair game. To be fair, what's equally funny is people reacting to Ariana Grande using her real name in the Wicked credits, as if a new Pope's been announced. Anyway, back to the talking cars, we get clued into just how quiet things have been for this town.
Customers! Customers, everyone! Customers!
I think this scene's a particularly strong one too. I think a lot of us have been somewhere where the shopkeepers all step out and try to win you over. And I can absolutely imagine the real town along Route 66 being like this. I hope they did get a boost in tourism after this movie. It's not like they're hassling the couple in an unpleasant, greedy way either. You can tell they are genuinely proud of their business and don't often get an opportunity to get people in. However, that doesn't mean we can't relate to the couple as well. And that dynamic of the self-assured husband being too stubborn to ask for any help or directions, with the wife being receptive to listen, is, though maybe a tad stereotypical, you know, we've all seen that couple, haven't we? Despite Lightning ultimately screaming in their faces and them swiftly driving off, Sally's attempt at keeping things optimistic is a small moment but says a lot about her character and clinging onto hope from very little of it.
They're gonna tell their friends. You'll see.
Overhearing on the radio that Chick's arrived in California, we do have another daydream moment, this time with Chick having a Dynaco glory. The twins pop up again as the weird side piece in this fantasy. Man, the way they use them in this movie just keeps getting worse. We're not even on the bit where this daydream becomes real, and they do actually have so little agency that they switch over to being fans of Chick. Like, what happened? Lightning vanished for days and that was enough for them? Wouldn't they care more considering he's missing? Did Chick, like, do anything with them over those few days? Why are they always fantasized as a package deal as well? Aren't they like sister? I find this whole premise in the movie weird. Anyway, parking that, no pun intended, this vision sends Lightning into a panic, proceeding to rush through the job, which goes about as well as you'd expect.
It looks awful.
Now it matches the rest of the town.
Yep, that character growth is still yet to kick in.
If I win, you do the road my way.
I like that Doc challenging Lightning to a race doesn't ultimately hint anything that we learn later about his past, whilst also making sense on retrospect. It's a clue you don't really realize is a clue, if that makes sense. It's good writing, you know? You don't really overthink at the time how Doc knew Lightning would crash, but absolutely makes sense on the rewatch. So yeah, he crashes and he's back on with Bessie. However, then seeing the first part of the road finish the next morning, I appreciate that there's also an element of consistency for Lightning's character. He's an arrogant, self-absorbed guy, but like any high-performing sports person would be, he's determined to reach his goal and not afraid to put the work in to achieve that. That's right, he's driven. You're welcome. Which is only further apparent by him going back to the dirt track to try and correct his mistake. This scene's consistent with the playbook of the sports movie genre, which weirdly Pixar would repeat in Inside Out 2. Wonder what the emotions in the Cars universe looks like. Hey there, you've made it halfway through this video. Come and subscribe if you want to keep up with other amazing movie deep dives. Give us some suggestions for the new year, and let's get back to the second half of Disney Pixar's Amazing Cars. The determined protagonist goes to the track or pitch to get in early morning practice before an older mentor figure interrupts them. Except instead of an older hockey player who was definitely a love interest in an earlier draft of the movie, it's a car voiced by Paul Newman. Pixar, they certainly have some creative prompts. It's here we get our first indicator. Can I claim indicator as a pun? It's here we get our first indicator that Doc does know more than he's letting on, only for Lightning to once again refuse to be seen taking advice from another person. Only for him to then immediately try it, and big surprise, doesn't go to plan. Back with Bessie, we see the townsfolk becoming warmer with the moody race car after being visibly pleased with the new road. With a brief cameo from the law enforcement's approach to peaceful protesters. This includes the classic awkward back and forth between romantic leads, building up to...
You're in love with Miss Sally.
Okay,
I know he's actually fixed a bit of the road now, but we've leapt considerably from their last scene together.
It looks awful.
To...
I'd let you stay with me. Oh, not with me.
We won't get into certain logistical questions posed by those undertones. There's plenty of Cars logic videos out there. I'm sure there's several talking about that too. Regardless, Lightning has another moment of...
Let me look at you.
checking out the equivalent of a tattoo sticking out the top of a woman's jeans, like any classic road worker would do. Similarly, don't take this romantic advice either.
You know, I used to crash into her just so I could spoke to her.
Yeesh. How about we move over to a 5-minute fart joke sequence instead? Yeah, that sounds better. Again, not my kind of humor personally, but it does function in building Lightning and Mater's chemistry. Admittedly, I do also think the incorporation of tractors as cattle was a pretty inventive approach. Like, why exactly do cars need tractors as livestock? Don't worry about it. Let them drink their tractor milk in peace. Personally, I wouldn't put my new friend's life at risk, and laughing whilst I was at it.
He's going to get you.
That's absolute psychopath behavior, but hey, you do genuinely buy these two as buds by the end of the scene. Even if ultimately it's used to spell out the romantic subplot.
You're in love with Miss Sally.
It does kind of work having Mater as that teasing friend on the school playground. They just want kids to relate to these characters. But for me, this does get a little bit...
You love her, you love her, you love her.
All right,
you love her.
okay.
Shut up! You can't really even call this a will they, won't they at this point when you've got Larry the cable guy shouting, "They will!" before crashing into a tree. Inevitably, having overheard the whole ordeal, Sally goes in for another hesitant chemistry-building conversation.
Newly refurbished, right?
Yeah. Good night.
Next morning, another solid Sergeant Fillmore gag both confirms that Jimi Hendrix is in the Cars universe, but also once again leaves you wondering, how did Cars play guitar? Time for another nightmare, this time the Combine Harvester getting all the car kisses. To be fair, I did find this one funny. Rule of 3, guys. I'm guessing they've made merch out of that alarm clock at some point. I mean, they've done at least 7 variants of every character seen on screen, so there might as well be room for an alarm clock. And then to the surgery where...
Hey, have you seen the sheriff?
Emotional damage.
Prostate exam joke. Honestly, probably the best use of the Cars logic to sneak in an adult joke. I think it's great, though the sheriff does seem weirdly enthusiastic.
Get a good peek, city boy.
Anyway, that leads us to the big reveal.
Oh my gosh. 3 piston cups.
This is the part of the movie I'm particularly here for. Try as they might to get through the romantic subplot with Sally, or his friendship with Mater, or just the slow town in general. But it's the begrudgingly growing chemistry between Lightning and Doc Hudson where this movie really sings. From resentment to discovering the reason for the resentment to the ultimate resolution for that resentment. And lest we forget the line that ultimately feeds into the climax.
All I see is a bunch of empty cups.
Although Lightning's begun to become warmer as a character, this line is what begins his journey towards reassessing his relationship with racing. To see this supposed legend neglect what Lightning sacrificed any scrap of life outside of racing for is something he can't even compute at this point. And yet the fact that he's kept them also hints towards Doc not quite being over his past as much as he tells himself otherwise. With not much spelled out, unlike the Sally plotline, there's so much going on in these scenes with these characters. On to Mater's best joke in the whole movie.
He won 3 piston cups.
He did what in his cup?
No notes. They made me laugh at his character, good job. I wouldn't be surprised if they called it the Piston Cup just for that moment, nor would I blame them. After everyone unknowingly hurting Doc's feelings, look at the poor guy's face, we get the scene where I do buy into the Sally relationship a little bit more.
Come on, let's take a drive.
A drive?
The thing about Cars that I think some people don't like is that for a movie that revolves around a car race, it's actually a pretty small scale and low-key movie. There's not a lot of Cars antics. A point that just makes me even more angry about Cars 2. It's not a rampantly paced adventure like Finding Nemo. There aren't high stakes like Monsters Inc. You spend most of the movie in one dull town where the protagonist's goal is to finish paving a road so we can get to a race in time. In that respect, I can see why a lot of people see that as a negative, myself included when I think about the movie as a whole, really. However, it's moments like the drive scene that make me appreciate the different tone we get from this movie. Through the visuals alone, we just have two characters enjoying each other's company whilst taking in the impeccably animated visuals. It's the scene that just showcases the pure joy of what can be done in animation. This was the first CG movie to be able to pull off landscapes that look this convincing. And sure, other movies can have that and keep a more engaging pace, but I can't admit that there is something to be enjoyed about the quieter moments here. Considering that this movie's qualities being naturally more appealing to a younger audience includes these moments is quite a brave thing to do. And in defense of the weird Cars universe, would anyone have given this a smaller scale story the same time of day if it had been done with human characters? Later in this scene, we learn of Sally's past being in the big city, which also gives us insight into Lightning not being as happy as he lets on.
It never felt happy.
Yeah. I mean,
Going back to that moment early doors of not being able to name any friends. From incredible views and redeeming this otherwise shoehorned romantic beat, we get the flashback montage to when Radiator Springs was a thriving town. Whilst I find the initial leading of the lyrics literally going,
long ago, the world was different.
very subtle. I wonder what the message of this scene will be. I otherwise find the scene to be pretty effective, particularly returning to it knowing that this is based on a real town that experienced this. The idea that this community was pushed aside and largely forgotten. All too often we see people on a smaller scale sidelined by the demands of the masses. As the world gets bigger, the individual gets smaller, something that a celebrity like Lightning McQueen wouldn't initially relate to. And the best stories are the ones that highlight how every individual and community has a story that matters, something that the world could do with remembering once in a while. And writing a character that is so detached from that at first just to smash him into that reality is also just good storytelling. Anyway, as they get back, we get a reprise of the tractor cattle gag. And somehow thinking he can retrieve one of these tractors, Lightning comes across Doc in full racing gear. Another great scene, once again showcasing how good the animation around driving actually is. I guess when you're the leading studio in computer animation and you're basing an entire movie around cars, the driving's gotta look somewhat convincing. Whilst driving isn't really my thing, for the animators behind these sequences, it clearly is, as the joy of driving is very much celebrated here. The callback to turn right to go left is a particularly great shot. I mean, just look at that. They had to animate dust for this shot. Can't last forever though, as he realizes that schmuck under arrest is nosing in on the action. Not getting the memo, Lightning stalks him back to his sorrow garage just in time for the tragic backstory.
right.
Great, now I get to see a car on its lunch break reading a newspaper. Though I do appreciate the fact that the paper's called The Daily Exhaust. I could name a few newspapers that should rename themselves to that.
There was a lot left in me. I never got a chance to show 'em.
Oh, gotta give it to Paul Newman for getting genuine emotion into the voice of this talking car. You find yourself genuinely feeling sorry for this car, feeling like he was written off too early. For any of us who have older people in our lives who experience that same kind of feeling, I think this scene definitely hits that spot. It also makes sense that Doc then came into this community, a place for people who the world have written off, but they have each other. Hitting this point home, Doc then asks Lightning,
When is the last time you cared about something except yourself, Hot Rod?
this is arguably the most important point for Lightning's character in this whole movie. Everything else, whether the scene in this room earlier or his drive with Sally, are also contributors to the cracks, but this is the moment that all comes together and his worldview ultimately shatters. From the beginning, we've known Lightning's key demons are self-absorption and loneliness, and this scene forces him to face exactly why that is. The reward of the subsequent scene wouldn't have been as great as it is if we didn't first have this point fully punctuated first. The same goes for Doc's subsequent actions, still clearly resentful of Lightning and what he represents. On to the next day, we get the predictable but nice enough beat of Lightning's false exit, complete with comic relief character not realizing he's left after all, despite him stood right next to him. him.
What's wrong with Red?
He's just sad 'cause you left.
I've seen a million versions of that, but whatever. I do then really enjoy Lightning's philanthropy spree of helping out all the local businesses.
Tires can get me all the way to California.
A rare example of a rich guy realizing he can help people, what do you know? It's just a nice feel-good scene and a rewarding turning point for the character, topped off with the illumination scene. No, not that one. As well as the solid 1950s vibes, the neon colors reflecting off the various surfaces being incredibly pleasing to look at, this is the full coming together moment of the town accepting Lightning into their community. Quite a transition from arresting him and strapping him to a road paver. It's the completion of a character journey set up from the beginning, the self-proclaimed one-man show finding his community. There are some light gags here and there, but the main thing we see in this scene are the characters just enjoying the moment. If this was, we'd be roped into yet another dance sequence. But dare I say, there's genuine warmth to this scene. And sure, the bits with Lightning and Sally are nice here as well. Again, from establishing those small details showcasing her care for the town earlier on, we understand how much this will all mean to her. But it can't stay like this forever, of course. As with many things, the media come along to ruin the fun.
It's the ghost light!
Cool, that's the bonus short film on the DVD nicely set up. A small detail I like here is Sally's look of shock at Lightning's face on the trailer. It shows that she genuinely didn't realize how famous Lightning is, which also further cements her feelings for him are in no relation to that, if that wasn't clear already.
Thanks for the call. You called them?
Being ushered away, the reveal that Doc was the one that tipped the press suddenly puts him in the position that Lightning was just days earlier, the others turning away from him in disappointment.
Hey, Lightning, you ready?
It's finale time as we go back to how we met Lightning at the start, in his trailer, In the Dark. Initially repeating the motions of the opening, just through visuals we see how his priorities have changed. Even as Chick taunts him about the twins changing alliance, again creepy. Thanks John Lasseter once again, great. Lightning doesn't care anymore, he's a relationship guy now. As his daydreams initially distract him, it initially looks like the race doesn't even matter to him anymore. However, the crowd-pleasing finale beats begin as a familiar voice comes over the comms.
I don't think
I didn't come all this way to see you quit.
Yeah, we're now at the completion of Doc's Arc 2, the one who'd previously been all for the abandonment of the game. I gotta say, I can't think of many movies where the reluctant mentor figure only gets on this late in the game. Even in Cool Runnings, John Candy's on side before the halfway point. It's another sweet moment that solidifies the message you can go after your ambitions, but you're all the better for not abandoning your life outside of it in the process. When you prioritize both, one can even help the other. It's not that the races shouldn't matter anymore, it does, but it shouldn't be all that matters. And this scene, of course, is peppered with some great moments.
It's time.
With many a pleasing callbacks to go around, whether gags or what Lightning's learned from his friends. However, the thing that makes this scene is how it ends, as Chick shoves King into a wreckage.
I am not coming in behind you again, old man.
It's not sugar-coated either, it is a nasty looking crash. Honestly, when I was a kid, I'd get so annoyed that Lightning didn't cross first, then go back for the King. You know, kind of completely missing the whole point of the scene and the movie as a whole. It's hard to make the point that there's more to the game than just winning if the guy went for the win first before doing the thing. You know, we'd be kind of disingenuous that way. Obviously, that doesn't happen, stopping in front of the finish line, letting Chick fly past him. You really don't appreciate how well the sound captures the stadium atmosphere until this moment where it all falls into silence. Flashing back to when the same happened to Doc, Lightning's character journey is complete. It's an outcome that I think's genuinely surprising for first-time viewers, and as annoyed as I was as a kid, I think it's one of the movie's strongest moments. Lightning still gets the big celebratory ending, and he didn't need to win to get that. He's instead celebrated for an act of selflessness, which is a profound message to send to younger viewers. Clearly that message didn't get to me at the time, but what can you do? The crowd cheering, the pride in Doc's eyes, man, this movie does deserve more credit, doesn't it? The epilogue with Mater in the helicopter's a fun enough ending for kids and all that. Kind of interesting they squeeze in that Lightning McQueen's no longer prejudiced towards rusty cars just before that as well, but this is the perfect ending for me. And though Cars 2 added quite a significant damage to the general representation of the Cars franchise, I mean, I think that's personally why I didn't return to the franchise for years, I think it's particularly easy easy, especially with the billion-dollar toy business attached to these movies, to take a cynical retrospective on how these movies were just made for toy sales. And it's certainly fair to make that argument for why 2 sequels were made, as well as all the satellite shorts and TV series that they keep fueling for this property's relevance. And I don't think I'm the only one that has that more pessimistic opinion, at least before coming back to this on rewatch. However, scene by scene, I can now kind of see it's pretty well executed all the way along the board, even if it might have, to me, some larger scale branding issues. But digging into it at least a little bit deeper, this is why, looking back on this latest rewatch, Disney Pixar's Cars is ultimately pretty amazing. I get why it doesn't have the same love as other bits of the catalog. Some of the jokes have admittedly not aged very well. The logic of this universe very existence is hard for some to get past, and Mater can indeed get annoying at times. However, in the initial golden age run from Toy Story to Toy Story 3, I think Cars is definitely worthy of its place in the story. It's not quite trying to tell a story with the same level of stakes or action as other Pixar fares, but it's clear it's still a Pixar classic with all of the filmmaking prowess seeded into every moment. And who'd have thought it would still be possible at a small, forgotten town on Route 66 with the whiny Owen Wilson car? Now that's certainly a surprise. There's a running theme with Pixar sequels that are all about the secondary character, and it's the same here. Everyone's favorite idiot Mater. But we don't actually start that way. Instead, we get this guy, Finn McMissile, on a boat? And there's a warship boat with a gun? This really isn't a racing movie anymore. So Finn sneaks onto this oil rig in the middle of the night and has magnet tires now, so we can just ignore gravity apparently, and a tightrope that somehow can be balanced on perfectly. Actually, it's an incredibly creative way to expand the car's universe, but it also kind of takes something away from the idea, you know? So anyway, this is your standard spy movie opening. Bad guys are doing something suspicious.
Agent Leland Turbo.
What is it with Pixar showing mutilated cubic corpses? That is dark. But the reveal of Finn's shadow is actually something I really, really like. And so Finn dashes out of there, murdering as he goes. That's more body parts in this world. But the cinematography's good in places. And then he becomes a boat himself. So why did he need the other guy before? One less impactful version of that dash scene later and the prologue is done.
Who can stop us now? Mater, tow Mater, that's who.
That's really forced. So Mater's towing this guy when he spots McQueen's back. This goes on for a while.
McQueen's back! McQueen's back! McQueen's back! McQueen's back! McQueen!
And so the two hang out for the day, all with clips I've somehow seen before through osmosis, I guess. Until McQueen says he wants to spend a quiet dinner with Sally in the evening, and that makes Mater sad. Is this really a plot point? Dude can't stomach McQueen spending time with literally anyone else, so he doesn't. We've seen this cliche before.
I'll have my usual.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna have that too.
But hey, I like that joke. So then as these cars drink some alcohol, we learn of billionaire Axelrod, who's pushing for new renewable energy.
Nobody will ever go back to gasoline again.
This film's not gonna age well, is it? And then there's Francesco Bernoulli, egging on how McQueen would lose to him in a race.
Let's go to the phones. Baltimore, Maryland, you're on the air.
Have you ever had a dream that you could want them to do you so much you could do anything? And of course, Mater then goes running his mouth down the phone too, and then McQueen just abandons his date plans to see the ruckus.
What? He's nice to look at, you know, open-wheeled and all.
This is gonna be her whole character arc, just thirsting for someone else. All that foundation from the first film, poof. Anyway, McQueen hops in and joins the tournament and has to bring Mater along as well. Time for a montage. And some visuals that don't make sense. Planes with empty innards for the cars to peruse around in. But hey, the lighting's nice.
Hey, Lightning, can you believe this party?
And this is actually a really cool sequence of real drivers, and it changes with every region. I'm really out of the loop on IRL car stuff, but this seems really cool. Mater then goes on to make a fool out of himself at every turn, not understanding another country's culture, as well as putting himself right in front of everybody. This is gonna get annoying. Meanwhile, there's the spy plotline. Finn McMissile meets with Holly Shiftwell and learns of an American spy who is here to share information. You know where this is going.
This trip's been amazing.
Ah, he's a little excited, isn't he?
This is so classy. And so everything culminates in the bathroom. Why are there normal sinks when everybody's designed like a car? Anyway, this is our American spy, and he's dead. Dropping the info onto Mater as he eventually drives away. Mater's now accidentally plucked as the spy.
Look out, ladies. Mater's fitting to get funky.
Is this sentence implying what I think it does? Was he literally just swinging around his dick? Anyway, of course he passes the spy code word because the interaction is a real fact, rather than nonsense from both parties like it usually would be, and away we go. Holly plans a rendezvous point, and Mater thinks it's a date. As for the real spy plotline, our American spy is captured, and we're told that the clean energy is actually dangerous with an electromagnetic yada yada. The baddies work out they actually want Mater, and as for the spy... This is so dark! And then, 30 minutes into the movie, we're finally at the races part of this racing franchise. Gotta love there's a car there called Daryl, and it's an adaptation. There's dozens of us! And there's like a brief moment of Francesco interrupting McQueen's iconic monologue.
I am Speed.
Really? You're Speed?
But then it just goes to normal cinematography again. Where's the flair? Where are those iconic moments from the original cars? Like, even the opening of this movie is just kind of flat in comparison, you know? Like the director just phoned it in for the sequel. So as the race goes on and Francesco regains their lead after bad times in the dirt, the electromagnetic pulse camera comes into play, targeting races and sabotaging the match until they spot Mater and all pile in on him. So what comes next is Holly starts to communicate with Mater to warn him, right? In response, he just full-on continues to ramble down the line to McQueen and her, already grossly unprofessional, but then, as a friend, just goes on to leave McQueen during his big race for what he believes is a simple date. For someone prowling around with the best friend label, this comes off as not just dumb and annoying, but incredibly selfish too. How do we not talk about this? The other spies perfectly protect Mater in the back alleys, and McQueen apparently will accept any orders from Mater despite probably knowing better and losing the race because of it. Ending in the most ridiculous presentations of realism. And also, Finn could hop onto walls, apparently. McQueen is understandably livid and banishes Mater away. Are we seriously supposed to feel bad for the character who we cringe at for making all the wrong moves? Either way, he's the protagonist for the next hour, so get used to it. Finn McMissile detours him away, and after a pretty basic chase sequence through the airport, Mater is taken away on a spy jet plane. They witness the insider information of the big baddie, and Mater makes a contribution.
Well done, Mater. I would never have seen that.
You never would have thought to look in the corner? Anyway, we come to France, where there's tiny planes replacing birds? What? And hey, Ratatouille, huh? All of this for a scene with an informant to tell us the baddies are all poor quality cars and have a meeting soon. And this scene isn't even interesting. It's just your exposition spy drama. A lot of dialogue and little interesting direction. Cameras slowly moving for no reason, no cars moving around, it's just, But at least there's buttons for tires to maneuver holograms, and what a coincidence, the meeting ground is in Italy, at the next race. And speaking of threading things back to McQueen, he is sad about the Mater thing.
He's my best friend.
Then why would you ask him to be someone else?
Because he was being inappropriate and ignorant, and at the very least needs to be taught some things, or given assistance if it's a bit more complex than that, you know? Anyway, that's McQueen's bit done. There's essentially no arc with him here, so back to Mater. Yay. Now being given a disguise, where he proclaims he likes to keep every single dent as a memory of his friendship when he got them. This scene ain't so bad. Heartwarming in message, and there are plenty of visuals to see for what is another exposition dump. The Pope is a car. There's canonical Catholicism in this car cacophony culture, and assassination attempts must be canon too in its history. It's time for our second race. Francesco almost does a new twist, no longer throwing insults and talking about homesickness, only to turn it into an insult, a more emotional one I guess. Also, his mama has hair, as is a reference to the car model they're based on. I'm sure there's way more car trivia sprinkled into this film, but this is all I know. That's some smart adapting there. And they're off. But first, we got the Mater stuff again. Finally, as he's about to take on his disguise, Mater learns about how much of an idiot he is and how much everyone's been laughing at him as the fool, all explained by Finn thinking it's a bit. And then he's pushed in.
But I guess that makes sense, seeing how you's wanted in France and Germany and
Stop it!
He's so good.
I'm a little ashamed that I actually kind of laughed at that line execution. Maybe that's what this film needs, bumping up the humor of it all. Make Finn seem dumb in how he doesn't recognize it, because every other attempt is just not fun to watch. All of these jokes are really flat. So, Big Boss video calls into the meeting.
Descramble that voice.
I'm trying. Oh, it's too sophisticated.
That'd make the plot go by too fast, wouldn't it? Same as if the real American spy showed up. Expositioning the plan, they're sabotaging clean energy in order to bring everyone back to gasoline, which they can now dominate with their newly found untapped oil reserve, the largest in the world. And finally, the spies actually notice the electromagnetic camera ploy, because they could just recognize electromagnetic pulses now, but not last time. But they're caught, and a mild pile-up takes place. Seriously, we've got mutilated corpses and detached body parts, but a large-scale crash looks like this? Bumper cars? Come on. McQueen wins the race, that's probably pretty crushing on home turf, and they only now realize the pile-up. Is this a moment of solitude for the two of them as they see the bigger picture? No. But we're not there yet. McQueen still decides to stick with All in All despite the politics as he wants to trust his friend who says it's safe, so the baddies now plan to kill McQueen outright. The last All in All supporter.
Dadgum.
Gatling gun. Request acknowledged.
Shoot, I didn't mean.
Request acknowledged.
I kinda like this. But now Mater has all sorts of over-the-top mobility options with his hook and his other type of shoot. Not that it gets him very far. Time for Mater in the Void. Finally seeing his memories is embarrassing. There's not really a reaction here, just kinda another angle. It's almost like a behind the scenes of an animation. And then we wake up inside of London.
Inside Big Bentley.
Where's the Bentley bit? It's time for the final race. Gotta love that London has just grey weather everywhere. We're not in Porta Corsa anymore. And so, with front row seats, Mater's there to see as McQueen is targeted and nothing happens. The plot demands it. But there's a baddie backup plan, a bomb in the pits. Not sure how it would sell the all-in-all narrative, but sure. Only now does Mater realize he can release himself, and off he runs to save the day as a lowly tow truck.
Being killed by a clock gives a whole new meaning to your time has come.
Are these meant to be ha-ha hee-hee jokes? Like, actually out loud? Anyway, the two escape themselves and spot a Mater piece on the floor, just left there. The writers really are just phoning it in, aren't they? Oh, and also...
Done.
Oh, Miss Schiffwell.
The standard issue now.
Then why didn't you do it before? Mater tries to vacate the pits only to hear that he has the bomb, and McQueen's just spotted him, leading to this stupid sequence. Mater is reversing onto the track and McQueen is chasing after him, and still far behind, despite literally being the fastest car.
I'm the bomb!
Yes, Mater, you are the bomb. That's what I'm trying to say here.
And then Mater activates his rocket boosters, and this plot has really just crashed and burned at this point, hasn't it? And Cars 2.
Just blasted away.
The bomb is now out of range. Time for the spies to hit up all the loose ends, I guess. Again, I found one joke I like out of 20. It's this line delivery from Francesco.
What is happening? This is a bad dream. What is happening?
I need more freak out or something. I don't know, funny stuff from the not comic relief character. That's not just, why are you so dumb? So anyway, wrapping up, Finn grabs onto the professor last minute, coming to this confrontation that's actually quite good. The warship guy is here, magnetizing the professor, disarming Finn, and he's got his weapon aimed on him. That's a great counter movement to have to work against. The answer's pretty basic though. Finn has supercard jumping powers, as we've seen before, bombs that we don't even see the result of. Great. Meanwhile, after finally stopping, Mater's bomb starts actually ticking, and they get surrounded. But now, suddenly, everyone and their mother is a great fighter. Even Mater himself can just randomly karate himself out of a dilemma. Dude punched his tow truck clone into oblivion. Where did he go? But that's the goon sorted.
I know what needs to be done. Then do it. I can't do it. Look, nobody takes me seriously.
What? At every moment up to this point, you've not lingered on this thought to stop an idea, but now you do? This plot is so ham-fisted, man. All to lead McQueen into his counter-monologue.
Look, you're yourself in Radiator Springs. They need to change, not you.
Again, this is nice, but also kind of toxic in a way. It's good to take note of your surroundings. Don't be ignorant and oblivious if you can help it. And then they do the you're the bomb joke again. Invigorated with motivation and a new banjo rendition of the same spy motif we've been hearing practically on loop this entire movie, Mater now bursts into action with all of his gadgets up and over to the Queen?
Bomb! It's a bomb! It's a freak! Everybody down!
Yeah, why are you telling her? Anyway, this all comes to a head as apparently Mater has finally clicked on who the big bad guy is.
It's him.
Already? Have you not heard of suspense? Wouldn't that make this reveal way more interesting?
Yep, time for the explanation after. No real climax to this story at all, just more exposition. Axelrod didn't switch to clean, they're faking it, purposely shooting down their own brand for their bigger investment. And what's the big finale sequence I said Pixar movies always seem to perfect first and work their way backwards from?
Someone do something! Deactivate!
Bomb deactivated.
And that's it. No emotional swing, no real daring stakes. You know where it's going, and you've seen it before. Everyone's happy, Mater is officially knighted, we learn McQueen was given organic hippie fuel rather than all-in-all, kinda just jammed that in there, didn't they? And the final race happens in Radiator Springs, of course it does.
So he's not so good looking. I'm serious.
That's why I love you, Sally.
For lying? Huh?
And it all ends with Mater keeping those jets, destroying the beginning guy's undercarriage and just destroying the sanctity of this whole racing element. And that was Cars 2. It's just meh everywhere. From the visuals when we've not got rain to the direction, the dialogue and the plot line, the jokes. It's cliched, it's not iconic at all and just kind of phoning it in. Not to mention, it just expands the Cars universe in a weird way. Why is it Radiator Springs has car-themed houses and land built like it's a society of cars, but everywhere else is so glaringly human? Do cars seriously live in these kind of French apartments? No! The film's not thought out like that, and the only impressive part is the faithfulness to real-life car stuff and references to them. But this would only be the start of Pixar's misfirings and the first step into their phase of sequels. Thankfully, they seem to have stepped back on the Cars front, making Cars 3 another personal story, or so I hear. I think... Did you know Disney Plus has a new Cars spin-off series? This thing was only just released in 2022. Cars on the Road, it is called. Yeah, that's where they typically are. So while Up's been getting a spin-off piece with Doug Days, and I guess all of Lightyear was technically a spin-off too, let's see what happens next in the Cars universe post-Cars 3 or something. This is a series with 9 episodes to it, but don't worry, we'll be skimming through the details and ranking how each one does. Kinda reminds me most of the Zootropolis Plus series that released just a year prior to this one. Alright. Let's get into things. Episode 1 brings us into the very premise of the idea. Mater, it turns out, has a sister who's getting wedded on the other side of the country. So he's off for a road trip and McQueen is to join him. Not in the easy comforts of Mac, but done themselves to really soak in all the landmarks along the way. I actually somehow missed this episode the first time through, so I thought they were just chucked into the idea mid-trip, but it's nice to get a little bit of context first. Every other character we know is briefly seen and then left in the dust, as our first location takes us to a dino park, which brings in all the more questions on how the Cars universe works, since there were car dinosaurs as well, apparently. Anyway, each episode has a pretty micro plot, and this time post-establishings, it is that Mater is bored at the museum, while McQueen is much more interested. Mater then falls asleep and dreams about being in the Jurassic Age, and actually, it's a really neat detail here that the dino cars are animated at a lower frame rate. Clearly meant to be emblematic of those old-school kaiju effects using stop motion for these monsters as a homage to old-style films. I can really appreciate that. Anyway, they're attacked by a T-Rex. Classic. Mater tries to fish McQueen out of its jaws and then he wakes up, suddenly knowing the names of the fossils and running away in fear. Episodes aren't really gonna get any deeper than that, but it definitely feels like, what do boys like? Dinosaurs. Yep, plug in a dinosaur episode first. Make it a T-Rex fight or something. Which is fine. A mid-episode to kick off this low-stakes side story. Now, episode 2 is a whole other reference fest. One big reference fest. We've traveled far enough to reach the state of Halloween. It's rainy, it's scary, and the boys are relegated to a creepy hotel. Not far off from the last time they did Pixar spin-off content. This is all one big nod towards The Shining. Mater is scared, McQueen assures him, and then in the middle of the night, it's McQueen that is haunted by the several ghosts of the mansion. We reference the twins, the writing on the door, the unrealistic just flooding of blood.
That's a lot of antifreeze.
McQueen is swung around by several ghosts, speeds through several dream sequences, and then they're out. It's just an episode of being haunted by ghosts. Until the next day. feeling like a definition project of a direct-to-DVD little edition. Is it smart? Is it funny? Is it cool? No. Seems about as low effort as you can get on the creative side, if you ask me. And it's not exactly like this entire series is just an afterthought. We'll see some decent highlights later on, but as it stands right now, this episode just passes the time. Easily a bottom tier of the bunch. So let's get into more strange Carsley revelations with episode 3, all about an icy lake and some new territory for what if race cars had feelings with these land speed races. Pushing the limits of racing speeds with modifications and an arena that allows for minimum frictions and maximum scores. And in the smallest form of a joke, it's not the race car that's set up to join the races, but the tow truck instead. These cars are set up with literal rockets attached to their chassis, so anyone can do it with the right equipment. So of course Mater is all souped up for it. Now in this episode they do briefly touch on a hint of something deeper with Mater poking out an insecurity he has in comparison to McQueen.
I've always wanted to go faster and fast and shoot. Right now I got a pretty good shot at it.
It's nice to see the starting of this, as that is meant to be a theme of the whole road trip. It's an opportunity for these two best friends to get a little closer, as well as seeing the sights along the way. The actual premise at the core of this is pretty good, and I think we're getting the startings of its potential here. So anyway, Mater is jet-powered, the guy before him was literally burnt up into a crisp, wow that's dark, and Mater goes speeding off, much to McQueen's dismay. What happens next is a real shocker of a twist. This episode, I kid you not, kills Mater. He was told to watch out for the speed demon. And that's referring to the Cars universe version of the Grim Reaper. Mater has crashed so hard he dies and goes to a kind of Cars afterlife purgatory. The implications of this Cars universe never cease to surprise us all. Mater's soon-to-be corpse now suspended in midair before its likely disintegrating demise. Wow! Mater gets to witness for himself regrets McQueen will have for this second-hand guilt, as well as having to say goodbye to everyone he loves. If it wasn't for doing a flip and sneaking back into his body to get away with it all.
Well, suppose I can let one slip through the cracks.
Huh! And apparently the only reason it worked is because the soul of the speed demon was willing to allow it to happen. Hooking onto the ground to save himself, becoming a legend amongst the speed racers, and just as quickly fleeing out of there. Didn't think we'd be touching on the mechanical afterlife, but road trips can get trippy sometimes apparently. Easily the best we've seen so far. Episode 4, I'm afraid, won't be keeping up with the same levels of hype. It's the Bigfoot episode. There are Bigfoot hunters, McQueen being the reasonable one, of course doesn't want to get too involved, and Mater is being Mater. Hey, at least their characters are easy to predict, they're so well defined. But they're out looking for a monster of some kind before McQueen is captured by the monster. It's a monster truck. And it twerks sometimes. Covered in moss and clearly not a raging beast, this is a full-on character in Ivy, who just wants to be left alone by these freaky, obsessive hunters, to which Mater hops in and then joins in the plot to scare them all the way, faking an alien trap instead of a Bigfoot scare to banish them away. And that's that. Though something I do really like about this episode is the fact that it permanently affects the road trip for a spell, as Ivy wishes to join alongside McQueen and Mater. She joins the gang entirely. So off they go, all three together, and they'll all reappear in the next episode. It's better than most, but I wouldn't call it the peak of this show. Episode 5 comes around and Ivy, yes, is actually still with them, as they reach the Whale Car Wash. What an iconic American landmark. To which the mossy monster truck is immediately removed at their character quirk. So much for bumps being important to one's character, but we don't talk about the lessons of Cars 2. Mater also goes through and is unfazed. Simple joke. What this episode is really all about is the circus, and what do you know, McQueen is scared of clowns. Clown cars, haha! It's more spectacle from another tangent of the Cars universe concept. I'm honestly baffled there's still more that can be explored in this incredibly simplistic foundation. There's a part where there's an endless amount of cars in a bumper, which again, just so many questions coming out of that. And at the end of it all, there's a big old show. And who better to bring into the act than Ivy herself? Monster trucks are for shows after all, and though she previously has trauma of crushing a poor guy to death in the past, here she immediately is doing it again, but successfully this time. And with that, she's found her place. She sticks around for one bonus episode, and then leaves just as quickly. Which is kinda disappointing, but it's whatever. Kids are here for the main two guys anyway, I guess. And with that, they all part ways on the road trip, and the whale car wash guy gets a post-credits scene. Welcome halfway through the video, subscribe if you haven't already. This practically concludes our unofficial Pixar month, but there's spin-offs we'll be covering from all sorts of other studios if you want to see more once this video is done. But let's get back into it. So come round to episode 6 and Meta now suddenly has some other insecurities to address.
Man, sometimes I wish I was a real truck just like them.
Wait, mate.
Because he's not acknowledged by some other truck, he doesn't see himself as a truck. And then they go to a petrol station. McQueen is off buying groceries or whatever it is that cars need to function that we would otherwise never see or understand since it's never really been shown on screen before. And Meta gets to witness a bunch of other trucks. Now these ones are acknowledging him and all singing and chanting along about being a truck. It's the musical episode. I'm seeing the format here. Sometimes it gets into neon and gets all artsy on the imagery, but also it's an awfully repetitive song. It's fun, you know, just not grandiose. But still, Meta is happy being acknowledged as a truck. He gets some beeps back from the other trucks.
What was that all about?
And McQueen heads off with him, clueless that anything happened at all. It's sweet. You get what it's going for, but it's not the best in its class for what it's trying to do. But now we're somewhat coming to the end of the series. The big overarching story hints are coming into effect finally, as Mater is worried about the speech he's gonna give at his sister's wedding. Cue the movie set episode. Oh cool, they actually kinda directly reference some theoretical Cars anatomy in this episode, with the zombie brain cars connected to how that one guy said behind the windshield is all just brains for these characters. Or at least I see it that way. So McQueen ends up scoring a role for being a celebrity himself, struggling with a vague line and no direction.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Along with several takes of being gooped. Your classic parody of Hollywood. Nothing really added by the fact that they're cars. It's just another episode, but it is some eye candy. Mater then also gets a role and does it very well, telling jokes the whole time that guffaws the whole crew, until he stumbles up to the role of president too, where McQueen starts to get jealous and Mater comes out again with a rare piece of insecurity messaging.
Lightning, you're good at everything. You gotta leave a few leftovers for the rest of us.
Which is so nice. I really want to see more of this. There's something there, but this series so far has been nothing but the simplest routes it can write. And in coming to a conclusion, the movie is cancelled and replaced the next day. That's showbiz, baby. Now it's a musical, but not with trucks. And now Ivy's involved. And off they pop, dissatisfied by the cutthroat nature of the Hollywood backdoors. Alright, but hey, it's nice that the credits each time is a different instrumentation of the same theme. That's something. Episode 8 references Teslas, cause we are in the new decade, and in keeping with that, it's the apocalypse now. Second to last episode is the Mad Max episode. McQueen and Mater have reached the point where they're arguing all the time. That's the theme of this episode, only for them to be caught by role players, or criminals? Whatever they are, they're at war, and will happily drag normal civilians into their mess, choosing to sacrifice our boys in the ring of death. But as the two butt heads against each other and rival each other out, everybody's already gone by the time they realize. Because out in the distance is Dust, the rival gang that this band of misfits is at war with. You see the theming? The futility of hostility or something. The boys see the bigger picture, jump on a rock, and call out to these pointless warring factions.
Throwers and forget these petty squabbles. Right, buddy?
Right, buddy.
Then they war anyway, and Mater and McQueen get out of there before they can be convicted as an accomplice to a crime out on these sandy streets. Or I assume that was the messaging of the story they were going for. Admittedly, I kinda zone out when I see Mad Max references. The actuals are great, but these always make me eye roll for some reason. And now we finally loop around to episode 9, our finale as the two reach their destination. From Mater's prior presidential speech, he's prepared for his sister's wedding speech, and the conflict of today is about how McQueen can't wait to fly home, whilst Mater wants to drive manually all the way back too. And also, he's anxious, getting backfires because of his concerns over his sister.
I don't understand. When I get around my sister, something unexplainable happens to me.
Here she is, living the life of luxury, as was apparently the standard home base of Mater. You never would have thought. That is a joke. A very easy joke. But this new sister character here is seemingly so lovely until you see...
Seeing as how no one ever knows. With you.
And here we go.
With your laid back...
She's incredibly competitive and down-putting. And also, this character is here, connecting some dots a little more to the mainline films for some reason. Mater and Mato, like tomato, I disagree with that pronunciation, go on to a series of competitions, racing backwards, rock, paper, scissors, all the tiny little games you can think of as they try to one-up each other, completely disregarding the whole point of this day being a wedding, until eventually, surprise character Ramirez reveals to also do family therapy along with every other career path under the sun. That's that joke. Mater and Marto realize they both desire something that the other one has, the wedding is almost called off. It's not. Mater does his speech, chucks in a little bit of presidential influence in there.
It's the brainy-headed scourge, or else it's only a matter of time before they blow up the earth!
And McQueen comes to the conclusion that you need to make the most time with the people you care about, so he chooses to manually drive home with Mater too. And with that, off they go, having only done half the journey. Thankfully, they haven't turned it into a sequel series yet. I love Pixar, honestly I do, and spin-offs allow for all the more bonus content to be enjoyed, but this wasn't special. It felt like basic DLC with very little flair actually put into it. It covered all the tropes, relied on references, any jokes there were about as easy as they come, and the messaging was clearly for the very young and impressionable. But that doesn't necessarily mean you can't make something weighty anyway. Our ranking of episodes would go as follows. The worst is Haunted House, then Mad Max, then Movie Set. Coming into mid-content, we have The Wedding, the musical, and the dinosaurs. Then you have Bigfoot, the circus, and actually a good episode in the rocket death afterlife query of Mater almost becoming a mashed meteor. Cars has been stretched out for a long while now. There were already spin-off TV series, and then 3 movies, and the Planes expansion, and probably more too, and this wasn't much to add. And it wasn't trying to be much. But in comparison to the likes of Zootropolis Plus, or even that one Tangled short, this was just content. Simple, easy, skippable. I'll stick to a commute inside Mac next time, or breach a whole new territory with trains, because that's never been heard of before. Cars 3. The very fact that I haven't seen it means I must be a fake movie fan. I'm sorry, I didn't get around to it. I've seen every single other Pixar project, every single short, every single... No, I can't say every Disney Plus sequel spin-off thing, but we're close. The only thing that's not in my library is Cars 3, so I want to fix that today with this new unwatched series. Cars 3, I've heard that it's good. I think I know the plot. Any mention I've done in the past on the channel about Cars 3, I'll be honest, kinda been winging it. I guess we'll find out what I know and what I don't.
I know nothing.
Yeah, you get that, I.
Focus.
Alright, we're focused.
I am
speed. Ka-chow.
Mater, what are you doing in here?
This is my personal trailer, get out. This is where I poop. Cut that out, I hate poop jokes. Does Mac not have any, considerations for the fact that Mater just walked into his behind? How is that allowed in the Cars universe? Where is his organs? Forget the anatomy of a car. How does the anatomy of a truck work out? I am stunned to work out this out.
Well, I can't argue with the Doc Hudson.
How true.
That was really sweet. I think I remember hearing that the actual voice actor for that Piston Honda. No, that's a Punch-Out character. What's wrong with me? Doc. It's just Doc. I'm so stupid, man. Listen, I haven't watched the Cars franchise in a long time, apart from Cars 2 a couple years ago, and that went,
you know, in my head, and I've been trying to remove it as fast as possible. That was a really nice way of showcasing it in a really nice way. And also, I like all the references. This is very clearly going so heavily to the story of Cars 1. They really want you to forget about Cars 2. That movie... yeah, it didn't happen, alright? Mate, it doesn't exist. Yeah, it was nice. I like how it's all coming together to finally finish up the franchise, I would hope. Even though they are talking about making more Cars franchise stuff, so, you know, corporation's gonna corporation. Can never fold a Pixar soundtrack.
These three are fun to watch, aren't they, Daryl?
Yes! A Daryl is represented! There aren't many Daryls in the universe. Most of them are now, you know, buried under the weight that is Daryl Dixon, but I'm glad there's a Daryl in the Cars universe. This is just classic Cars, basically, isn't it? It's lovely. Now, I personally actually don't have a lot of nostalgia for the first Cars movie, so I'm just gonna see this probably more as neutral, but I bet if you're a super fan of Cars 1, you're probably quite into this opening so far. We just want to see car race, you know?
Broom, broom.
Man, that was a great hat. I want a hat like that. Moving Hot Wheels cars? Why haven't they made that yet? The techno guy is here. The big bad evil of the Cars universe. Electric efficient engines.
Jackson Storm, right? Great race today.
Jackson Storm.
Thank you, Mr. McQueen.
What a name. It's funny as well. There's been a lot of Cars villains, like rivals. They're also kind of all the same. They have the same vibe, the same dialogue, I would argue. Like, what makes him different from, like, the villain of the first Cars movie? Speaking of, look, there he is! Oh, listen to that Pixar flourish. Love, like, the strings on it.
Cutting-edge simulators.
Oh my god, simulations! Oh, I hate him already!
Hey, Cal!
Ah, that's Cal. Dynaco guy. I was thinking about him earlier.
I'm gonna miss that the most, I think.
Thinking about this as, like, a Pixar movie topic in general, that, you know... Covering retirement is certainly a new one. It's an interesting topic, you know? After the past themes of, like, disability, disappointment, death.
Name's Danny, bro.
Ah, you know he's a villain. He says bro. Ugh.
Guido, hurry up!
Technically, this is slow compared to the real life. Have you seen how real life does it? 4 wheels at once? They're doing one at a time.
Don't you worry, pal. You had a good run. Enjoy your retirement.
Oh, man. The music swelling up here. This was an amazing teaser trailer. The fact that I've not watched it for years and years and years maybe shows the marketing could have done better for me. Maybe I was just busy at the time. In my mind, Lightning McQueen's been dead for years. This is all I've seen. I don't know the rest. Oh, what an opener, though. I mean, it was a 15-minute opener, but what an opener. I kind of wouldn't mind a Cars prequel, to be honest, like a kind of Doc Hudson story. Oh, I forgot about this. Man, and the fact that Doc's not here, that's tough.
Your history moved right on.
Oh, that's so well done. Like, he's still in the shot. Old Ka-Chow is still in the shot. Oh. This movie already has so much heart to it, you know? It's sad heart, but it's heart.
Be afraid of not having the chance. You have the chance.
I'm very curious to see what new thing he tries. Because obviously, the statistics are all up against him, you know? There's a reason Mr. Beast is on top of YouTube right now. The more you know the data analytics, the better you do.
Wow.
There's a cheeky little wow for you.
Make some changes.
What kind of changes?
It's futile to resist change, man.
And that's our political quota done for Cars 3. So in the Cars universe as well, they have like FaceTime payphones? I mean, I've seen all sorts of weird things from the Cars universe, like the birds are planes. I don't know. Everything's just cars. Don't think about it. That's the Cars universe logic. Don't think about the Cars universe too much.
All right, bye!
I feel like this is just leading into a failure.
Rusty's Racing Center, here we go!
John Ratzenberger, here we go! And Mater's being left behind tactically. His second movie wasn't good enough to warrant him getting this front row choice. Look, even the mountains are cars. That's an old man van. Are the clouds cars? They could be. I'm keeping an eye for it now. Ooh, I like it. Simple match cuts. You see, I like when songs are incorporated in movies. I just like it when I don't recognize the song, you know? Otherwise, it just feels like a pop culture moment. It just feels shoved in. Where is this chair taking me?
Guido,
Can you believe them?
Paparazzi.
Paparazzi. That might just be my favorite line in the movie. Da-da-da. That's kind of Toy Story-esque.
Welcome to the Rusty's Racing Center.
He's evil. I'm calling it now. He's evil. New character established. He's evil.
You gave us a lot of great memories, Lightning. Memories we'll remember.
Wow.
Hey, you can't say wow. That's Ka-Chow's line.
Please, no pictures. Okay, maybe one. Get my good side, though, will you?
This is just going to be the Toy Story 2 moment of Woody seeing all of his merchandise. It's the same. And to be fair, that's one of my favorite songs of the Toy Story 2. You know, when you die, we're gonna rip you out for parts and string you up against the wall over there. Okay, now we're going a little bit Incredibles with the electronic suit. Excuse me.
Wind tunnels. Virtual reality. Still working on that.
They love going into the virtual reality side of things. When did this movie come out? Was this like a 2018, 2019 movie? I guess now Pixar's gonna start making comments about AI soon.
Jackson Storm wishes he had this model.
Look at that guy's ass. Oh. That was a girl. Suddenly that joke is not very tasteful. I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I thought, oh. God, everyone's coming out grey in this universe. Everyone new has no color to them, which is probably thematic that this is actually going to be really hollow. How dare they go into data analytics? But also, modern cars these days are getting more and more grey. The clouds are cars too. Are the clouds cars? I knew it. Oh.
Homesick again, Gabriel?
Santa Cecilia!
That's offensive. I don't suddenly get boosted up with power when I hear God Save the King.
We need to loosen those ancient joints. First,
oh, we're getting some car Zumba. Where's the energy ball?
Aye, go. Aye, more passion, more energy, more footwork.
It actually is casually just working on thighs, bums, and tums of the Cars universe.
Oh, okay, what are you...
Hey! Yoink! There's a lot of body horror when you think about the Cars universe. Like, she just amputated his legs off. His feet are gone.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so let's see where this goes.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
Oh, it's not going well. How did that happen? He was the fastest racer in the world and he can't handle a simulator? A113. Easy spot that time. It's Toy Story 2 again. This movie's quite slow so far. You know, we had the first 20 minutes was just the race thing. We're now another 20 minutes in, and it's the same long training montage, but most of it was spent not doing the training. It was like a joke training.
I'll train like I did with Doc. I'll get my tires dirty on every dirt track from here to Florida.
If you don't win at Florida, you'll retire?
I mean, that sounds like a fair bet.
Deal?
Deal.
Give it a moment. It needs a moment to unleash.
Well, life's a beach, and then you drive.
Excuse me? Oh my god, what? That is the last line I expected out of Ka-Chow's mouth. Life's a beach and then you drive? Are you kidding me? Can't believe Pixar just did that.
For today's great test of speed.
You know, actually, when I was a kid, I loved Luigi. Mostly because his name was Luigi.
What about Hamilton?
Who's Hamilton?
Alexander Hamilton.
You know, the guy from History. It was a car.
You do work with race cars, don't you?
Yeah, but never outside.
How dare she only do her job inside? Only real schmucks decide to block out the sun and only do things on the inside of a building.
If the press find you, they will be like many, many bugs on you.
Paparazzi.
Paparazzi. Boh, I love it.
I am a master of disguise.
I'm curious, what's the punchline here? I need to see it. Hey, this is the quick halfway mark to let you know, hey, if you're interested in this so far, please do subscribe and give us some feedback if you've got any thoughts on this series. I'd love to take some tips of future movies to do or ways to improve the format. Maybe I should just be an animated PNG guy the whole time. I'm working on it. It's just an excuse for me to talk about every 3D animated movie under the sun, including some ones that maybe would be a little bit more underrated from the stop motion or 2D animation sphere. Both bad and good as well, since I don't get a chance to talk about good movies all that often. Anyway, that's the halfway plug done. I'll let you get back to the rest of Cars 2. It's Cars 3. What's wrong with me? I'm curious. What's the punchline here? I need to see it. Oh. Jocko Flocko's party supplies. I love it.
Where are the other racers?
Oh, they'll be alone.
Are they like monster trucks or something? Have we seen? Yes, we've seen monster trucks. Oh. I like it. Oh, it's a school bus. How does the Cars universe have so much to bounce off? Well, I guess the Cars industry, like the actual automobile industry, is just way off the charts. Let's go racing! It reminds me of the days of Burnout on like the old Xbox, you know? It was like, mwah. I wish there were more like combative vehicular games. Or even movies. I could watch a whole movie of this, to be honest.
I'm flying! I'm falling!
Was that the Pizza Planet truck? Oh, it's the Pizza Planet truck rocket. The siren's gone out. He's just saying it himself. That guy is not of this reality. Not a water truck. What are the odds?
From head to toe with 95 posters.
I mean, is that really her fault?
I can't get any faster because I'm too busy taking care of my trainer.
I mean, he's kind of right.
If you were a racer, you'd know what I'm talking about, but you're not. So you don't.
Mac's just like, ow, that hurt my liver.
When you showed up to your first race, how did you know you could do it?
It's a good question.
I just never thought I couldn't.
I guess it's kind of touching a little bit on the same theme of Monsters University again, of like, not so much disability, but I guess in this case it's motivation or like self-confidence, I guess, in that they never really got to exert the talent and career choice that they wanted, you know?
Lightning McQueen's racing career will be over within the week.
Retirement, it comes at you fast. I don't know how I'm going to retire, man. I'm just going to keep going until I fall over, I reckon. Maida has a phone? No, Maida has another FaceTime tablet. What is this, Cars universe? What are you doing?
Mater, I can't do this forever.
Oh, it's interesting the way that I think the movie's starting to diverge here, which is really nice and, you know, non-standard.
There was nobody smarter than old Doc. Well, except for maybe whoever taught him.
Wait, what?
Doc Hudson's trainer was briefly showed in the flashback. I did see it, and I did make a comment on it, but that works nicely. The mentor is still around? Wow.
Hey, Cruz. I fixed it.
How did he manage that?
Okay.
Look how big his,
maybe
his meaty, rubbery finger tires are. How did he get a tape through the hole? Oh, he used his tongue, didn't he? That's the only canonical way he's got a thin enough limb. I hate that.
Aren't we supposed to be looking for Smokey? Oh, that's right. He's dead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, is he dead? Like it makes sense on a timeline front. I didn't know. Oh. These are the moments, I think, in Pixar movies that are really... It's when the dialogue stops and the music gets its moment. It's the emotional heart behind these animated movies, man. Like, I don't even have the nostalgia for this, but I bet if I had watched it 20 times in my childhood, I'd be like, oh... And there he is.
Starting to think I might never meet you. These folks are gonna get a kick out of meeting Hud's boy.
Who's Hud? Oh, Doc Hudson.
Right.
Come on. Was that just so that the children could understand who they were talking about? What was that? Oh, all right. I didn't think we were going to get that kind of instrument representation in the Cars universe. That's great.
The fabulous Hudson Hornet.
I'm really enjoying just this like elderly conversation of nostalgic people, you know?
Everything changed when the
Fire Nation attacked.
When the rookie showed up.
Oh, I'm seeing a cyclical plot coming in. I could really take on like a prequel based in the 1960s. I'm sure it wouldn't do so well for the marketing.
But Hud never touched anyone unless he wanted to.
Nice. Just like Cars 1 again.
Well, we both know he was never the same after that.
Time for some recontextualization. Happiness in retirement.
I'd never seen the old grump so happy.
Never mind, you don't need to retire. Just do a career switch. Oh, and I'm glad they managed to loop it back round to Doc himself, you know? This is what it's all about, man. A sort of bittersweet realization, you know? Yeah, all the pieces are there now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so they took out her muffler so she made more noise.
I can put you into the old folks' home against your will. How is that?
That'll work. Come on.
Okay, I like this as a training format.
Reflexes are the first thing to go.
Just outright, you're old. Reflexes is the first thing to go. Again as well, this sounds like Toy Story 2. It's a modern-ish classic Pixar movie.
That's when you were fast, now you're slow.
And rickety.
And dilapidated.
Okay, I get it. Sneak through the window!
They always bring it back to the cow tractors. They were really happy with that invention from the first movie. I feel like it appears way disproportionately more.
I don't care who you are, that's funny right there.
How do they even milk them? Do I want to know? Are they milked? Oh, if you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a dodgeball. Boo! Reflexes are the first to go.
By the way, no lights, instinct only.
Do not drive through a forest without your lights on. Don't drive through a forest at all, to be honest. What are they doing? Oh, I love that he shreds his suit. He's becoming his true self. That's very nice.
McQueen is fading.
Well, is it fading, or is it just acknowledging how good your mentor suddenly is?
Hey, boss, it's time to hit the road.
Thank you, Mac. I'm glad you are our living clock. I like it. I know that was meant to be played for like, oh no, he failed, but like, no, that's a success. There's a whole new career waiting for McQueen now.
I am Speed.
Ka-chow.
Calling the racers to the track.
What was Mac hitting just then? How did Mac make that noise? Like, I'm not even fussed about the anatomy of a car. I am so interested in the anatomy of Mac specifically.
McQueen still has a chance.
Just go do your job. You are a trainer, remember? Not a racer.
Here it comes. Funny that they did this drama in the middle of a race. Like, come on, that's extra unprofessional. On the microphone as well? What are you doing, sponsor? What a lovely timed crash. Thank you. Cheers.
No, not me. Her.
Well, this is now the slowest break ever.
I started this race, and you're gonna finish it.
You can't do that.
Hey, did I ever tell you how much I love your mud flap?
Nice one, Mater. Coming in clutch. What a wingman.
That'll work.
Why are you doing this?
Seriously, are we like in anime time now? Where like everything's frozen. We don't know. We're mid-race against the super sports villain.
And this time I want you to take it.
Take the bloody shot. It's just like the simulation. I'm just in the video game.
School bus of death is after you.
Right.
That was different.
Yeah, sneak through the window.
Now that, I understand.
I mean, that was not what I was expecting at all visually, but alright, we'll take it.
Now you're coming up on the leaders.
The violins are going mad for it.
You are a racer.
A racer that's taking a lot of breaks all the time and is still gonna win. Alright.
And how far back is she now?
Look behind you.
What? Woohoo! Ass lap!
Just sounded like McQueen said, ass lap! Do a lap on his ass! I think that has other connotations. Never mind. Maybe strike that one off the record.
No!
Oh, you know what to do, Cruz.
I
do! Respect your elders! Even though she's relatively young. I wonder how popular Ramirez as a character has been since this movie came out, you know? Because every kid, of course, is into Lightning McQueen. Oh, it's getting to me too now.
Miss Cruz, I would be tickled pink to have you race for Team Dynaco.
Oh.
Why is my name up?
That's nice.
You started the race. That's how it works.
Lightning wins. He decides when he's done racing. Hi, I'm his lawyer.
We got him.
Oh, I'm gonna keep racing.
Okay.
But I got something I want to do.
Thanks, guys.
Great number. He felt HUD would have wanted you to have it.
Oh. Oh. Wow. That's so nice. What a lovely love letter to, I mean, I guess in-universe characters, but...
I'm actually more worried about what Tex is gonna say, considering he, bought Rusty's.
I made that Sterling fella a Texas-size offer.
So even the villain won. Billionaire got more of millions. Great. Oh. This movie, I don't know why I didn't end up watching it at the time. I think I'm not that attached to the Cars franchise. I love the terrible stuff or the weird spin-offs they do. But this movie, actually, I think is pretty good. I wouldn't exactly say it's the peak of, like, Pixar. It's not, like, absolute classic, but it's either a low absolute classic, if it was, or it's, like, top-tier mid-range. Like, it's really good. I think it's, like, this... I would say, yeah, this movie is as good as the first Cars movie. And I know a lot... Executive producer John Lasseter? Seriously? 2019? Already? Oh, okay, well. Maybe we'll bump that down a tier slightly. I'm kidding. But no, yeah, like that, Randy Newman, what a surprise, they did the soundtrack. Yeah! I didn't expect it to be that good. I think that was just like a perfect, well done ender for the franchise, for the career, for the Lightning McQueen tale. Even though the second movie doesn't cover Lightning McQueen at all, essentially, it's fine. I think that was a great homage to the first one. Maybe you could say it's just a redoing a lot of the steps. But I don't know, I liked it. I really, really liked it. Now, I'm not crazy about the Cars franchise as it is, just on alone, so that's probably why it's not as high as it could be, but that was a damn solid movie. The fact that that's the only Pixar movie I haven't seen, and now I got to properly enjoy a real Pixar classic, that's a real blessing. So, thank you very much for joining me on this. That was a stellar movie. I'm not going to be able to do this again for a Pixar movie, I reckon, because everything else is going to be theatrically released, probably. But if you are interested in this format, please do give me some feedback. I'd love to hear either movies you would like to suggest that I watch that you don't think I have seen, or just in general, how to work on the format. But I hope you enjoyed. Do let me know your thoughts on Cars 3 as a movie, and I guess I better end it off there. My name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video, and I shall see you in a little bit. Nice one, Cars 3. Decent movie. In a bit.